Hello there guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and today let's talk about some of them Switch graphics. So before I get too deep into the video and the subject here, I just wanted to let you guys know really quickly that this will probably be the last video that I upload to Rule of Two Review for the next little bit. There's just something pretty intensely personal going on, some stuff that I have to take care of, and it's going to keep me busy. It's probably going to be just a week, maybe as long as 2 weeks, but it's probably going to be just in the range of 1 week. I won't be able to do any updates or uploads or talking about any news unless something so crazy intense happened. But, you know, really for the most part, this is going to be it. I realized that it was just going to be the healthiest thing for me to do is to take a small break. I wouldn't be able to make the right kind of content. My head won't be in the right space for the next week or so. So I'm just taking that quick break and I'm going to make this video the last one for about a week. Anywho, let's stop being all serious and talk about the fun stuff. We're talking Nintendo, we're talking the Switch, and we're talking about dem graphics, as I said in the intro to the video. So apparently there's a rumor now circulating the last day about the potential power of the Nintendo Switch, and it's of course not the only rumor. There's been a lot of talk and wondering about where it's going to fall in terms of power. It's a very important aspect to any brand new console. For Nintendo specifically, it's always pretty important because they kind of do their own thing in terms of power, and we've seen evidence of when that works incredibly well for them and makes them a lot of money, or even other companies with underpowered consoles, i.e. the PlayStation 2. And we've also seen evidence of when they do that and it maybe doesn't work in their favor, and it unfortunately makes things a little bit tough for them. So with the Switch, everyone is saying, wow, the idea is really cool. It looks like they're going to have the right kind of games. Third parties appear to be on board. This is going to be great, but what about the power? Is this Xbox One level? Is this PS4 level? Is this PS4 Pro or even Xbox Scorpio level? Who really knows? And it's important to a degree. I know a lot of people can say maybe the power is less important, and even as someone who's not a graphics whore, I agree with that sentiment, but when you look at it from like a real world lens, it does matter. It's important to a lot of people. It's important to a lot of the gamers and even the more casual folks out there that Nintendo wants to probably try to rope in with this and get back up to those larger sales numbers. That kind of thing is important because people do care about it. And hell, even though I'm not a graphics whore, I do still like powerful systems. I do still like really pretty graphics. And when I think about a Nintendo console having these really amazing next-gen awesome visuals that could be on par with the best out there or even better than the best out there, yeah, that gets me excited. It would be nice to see the next Metroid and Mario look better than anything we've ever seen. I think that's a totally acceptable thing to want even out of your Nintendo games. But the rumor the last day is now starting to say that maybe the system is going to be pretty underpowered compared to the direct competition. Now, I don't really know the fine details of where this is coming from or what aspects or elements of a game console these rumors are trying to say are underpowered, but I don't really think we need to necessarily know all those details when we just look at the base idea of the system has this level of power and it stacks up to the competition in this way. It's pretty easy to understand the idea of it's underpowered. They're basically saying it's probably going to be less powerful than the Xbox One, the least powerful of the competitive machines out there, which includes Xbox, PS4, and even PC. It's an interesting thing to hear. It's something that I don't really want to be true, and I don't even want to believe. And that's the good thing is right now, we don't know a damn thing until Nintendo tells us, until we see what games are being made by Nintendo and these other third-party publishers, and when we actually get the system and actually see what everything is like when it's running, whether it's in our hand or on our TV, that's when we're going to actually know. But these rumors are a little bit scary. So the question is whether or not we should even believe what's being said here. And I have to say that at the very least, it has to be considered. For a multitude of reasons. The number one reason we of course know is that for the last 2 generations, Nintendo very purposefully elected to have an underpowered machine. A machine with components and an architecture that didn't quite stack up to its direct competition at the time. And that created a very specific kind of gameplay style, and it also created some roadblocks and barriers not only for the system in the eyes of the people, but also for developers and publishers who might want to make some of their content available on that console. So we know that Nintendo has it in them to do so, and it can be smart in a way because we all know that means you're putting less money and R&D into your console, so you're probably saving money, which means you can A, sell it for less and make it more appealing in the price department, and B, make more money on the back end by being able to have a larger profit margin. It's something that we know Microsoft and Sony are willing to kind of undercut a little bit. Nintendo doesn't usually do that, and one of the ways that they help themselves remain profitable is by making, at least recently, importantly, systems with less expensive components, generating less power, but potentially more sales and more profit. It's an interesting business model, and I understand why they would do it. Because of that, when you hear a rumor like this in this last couple of months before Nintendo finally gives us the goods in January, it's kind of easy to say, like, man, is there really something to this? I mean, we've seen Nintendo do this before. Why wouldn't they do it again? But the other reason I feel like it doesn't make sense to believe it at all is because we also know that Nintendo is trying to do the right thing. They're trying to undo and mitigate their mistakes from the past, the very recent past, even with the Wii U. And they want to capture in and rope in all of these gamers. And I think that they really understand that what held the Wii U back is what they can't do again, which means making the system at least significantly underpowered. I'm at the point where, because we know like this tablet controller is like the majority of the system in the console and whatever power it's going to have, I do think there's some other juice to the home console unit, but we know that for the majority of it, it's coming from that tablet controller. And when I think about that, it's like, okay, that thing has to have some sort of limit on how powerful it can really be. It's going to be the most powerful handheld ever created for sure, but is it going to be powerful enough to stack up to the other console and PC competition for gaming? Well, if it comes in just a smidge, just a tiny little hair below what the Xbox One is capable of, even the base Xbox One and the One S, I feel like Nintendo will still have something that is going to appeal to gamers and also appeal to developers and let them know, hey, we can make our games and our products available on your machine. That's the number one thing that they need to achieve here, is making sure that everyone feels comfortable saying we can make a quality version of our game on your console, and we know people are going to buy it because people are interested in your console and millions of them own it, and we're going to do well and you're going to do well and everything's going to be great. They have to be able to do that. So if the Nintendo Switch at its lowest power output, which to me would be just the handheld tablet controller in your hand without being attached to the console unit, if it's just around that Xbox One range, it's going to be okay. I think it'll be just fine. Sure, we'd love to learn that it's more powerful than an Xbox One or even more powerful than a base PS4. That would be great. And it's not impossible. It is not totally impossible yet for us to learn that the machine is that powerful. However, I sure as hell wouldn't bet on it. I would not go to Vegas and put money on those odds. More than likely, we're looking at something in the Xbox One scenario. You know, the other thing that kind of works in our favor here, too, many people have brought this up recently, is the quote from Pete Hines at Bethesda, who went on record a couple of months ago. I read the interview and also have seen people talking about this on YouTube, where he basically says, without the power of the Xbox One or more, there would have been no reason for them to be interested in the Nintendo Switch or consider developing in that, or consider developing it, if I can even talk. You know, and we know that they're on board to develop. Yes, they're kind of right now currently denying the Skyrim thing, but it's crazy to think that Skyrim is not going to show up on the Switch. It's going to happen. And even if it doesn't, Bethesda's on board. We know they're on board. Not only were they in Nintendo's infographic that they released, but they themselves sent out a tweet right after the Switch trailer premiered, and they said, we're very happy to announce partnership with Nintendo and the Switch. We're happy to be developing for it. Boom! You heard it from the horse's mouth. That means that this system has to have a level of power that's acceptable to a huge AAA company like Bethesda, which means it's probably going to appeal to the majority of the third parties. And again, if it was underpowered, it wouldn't be appealing to the third parties. So this whole cyclical conversation takes us back to this idea. If it's powerful enough for those companies, it's probably going to be powerful enough for us. I can't imagine a system and a console and a handheld that has companies like Ubisoft, Activision, EA, and Bethesda on board not being powerful enough to stand up to the competition or be interesting to us. So in closing, it's definitely important to remember that this isn't impossible, and I don't think that this should necessarily be taken with the grain of salt that everyone loves to talk about in all of their videos about rumors. I think that this is something that should be considered. It's not impossible for this thing to come out and be more underpowered than we really want it to be, which could be very dangerous territory for Nintendo if they do that a third time. But it's also not impossible that it's as powerful that we want it to be, or even more. Granted, if we're looking at a Nintendo Switch console that's more powerful than a PS4, we're looking at a more expensive machine that's going to be $400. So if it turns out to be that way, I hope people understand and consider that before they would say they would or would not buy a $400 Nintendo Switch. To me, a $400 Nintendo Switch that can do what the PS4 does or better, maybe even the PS4 Pro, I'll pay $400 for that shit. That means it's actually worth it, not to mention the awesome controller and the portable aspect. There's just so many elements going on with this, and right now it's just all steeped in rumor and mystery. And here we are, you know, for the last year we were talking about NX rumors. Now we've actually seen what the NX turned into, but now we have another 2 months of rumors until we finally get the goods from Nintendo in January. It's so funny. It's like only Nintendo can make this stuff happen, man. They just keep the internet buzz and the scuttlebutt wheel a churning, and it's really interesting, and it's honestly a lot of fun, mostly because I believe in Nintendo and I think the Switch is going to be great. So even the concerns I have aren't really weighing down my excitement for the console, but it's going to be interesting to see. Who even freaking knows? You cannot predict Nintendo no matter what. Nostradamus himself would he just wouldn't even know what to do with Nintendo. It'd be insane. So anyway, that's what's going on with those rumors, and whether or not you should put a lot of weight into them or not. At the end of the day, I say consider them. Don't write anything off. But to me, more signs point to the system being as powerful as we hopefully want it to be. So that's what's going on. Like I said, probably the last video for a couple of days or a week, you know, somewhere between, like, I don't know, 7 and 10 days. We'll see what's going on. I will try to get back as soon as I can to you guys. I appreciate your patience, and thanks for tuning in. Please discuss the Nintendo Switch and these rumors about its power and graphics below. And this is Rob of Rule to Review. I will catch you guys next time on another video.